What's up, everybody? Let me know in the chat if you can hear me. I'm still on my same six-pack from Monday night. Ballast Point, long fin longer. I'm a big fan. Let me know in the chat what you're drinking. We're going to start it off the same way as we always do. I'd like to give a special warm welcome to all the haters out there. What's up? Welcome. Love you guys. All right, what are we drinking? What are we drinking? Japanese sake, IPA, love that. Tamarindo vodka and cucumber lime Gatorade. That sounds delicious. Gratitude Brewing. We got some water. Arcade IPA from Knee Deep Brewing. That sounds delicious. Diet Coke. New Holland's Dragon Milk. Chamomile tea. Rum chata with Fanta Orange. That is interesting. Four Loko Grape. We got a smoothie. Vodka and horchata. That sounds great. Hawaiian Ale. Nazareth IPA from Jesus Help Us Brewing. Yummy. Asahi. Can't go wrong with an Asahi. All right. Where's my game book here? So, the Chargers lose to the Seahawks 37-23. Just an ugly performance. Just an ugly performance on both sides of the ball, offensively, defensively. Not a whole lot to take away from this game. J.C. Jackson suffered a significant knee injury. NFL Network is reporting that it's a dislocated kneecap. He's going to have tests tonight or tomorrow and to figure out the full extent, but expect him to miss significant time, if not the whole season. Mike Williams with an ankle sprain. He had a pretty sizable walking boot on his lower right leg after the game. He told me after the game in the locker room that he's going to be back this season. But it certainly looked like a pretty severe ankle sprain. And he told me he's going to have MRIs and further tests tomorrow. So we'll get an update from Brandon Staley at 2 p.m. on those injuries. Just quick takes, and we'll get into your questions because I'm sure you guys have a lot of them. Offensively, a lot went wrong. Obviously, you have the 2 early turnovers. 3, really, if you count the turnover on downs. Once again, the Chargers fall behind early, down 14-0. Third straight game, they've been down double digits in the first quarter. It's really hard to win that way, but they couldn't run the ball, and that was a big issue. And it's starting to look like this run game has some serious issues. I think that Browns game was a real aberration. The Browns have a horrific run defense. They can't stop anybody. And that feels like the outlier here because they've been under 85 yards rushing in every other game. They're averaging 64 yards of rushing per game in the 6 other games. And they just got behind the sticks with some of these rushes. I mean, only 2 of their 10 first down rushes went for more than 4 yards. 14 of their 21 second downs were 8 yards or more. It's really hard to play good offensive football when you're running the ball that way and being that inefficient on early downs when you are running the ball. And then when a team knows you can't run it, they can pin their ears back and get after the quarterback. And that's what we saw here. I thought Justin Herbert just looked out of sorts, given his injury. You need to keep the defensive line off of him by having a threat to run the football. And if you can't do that, it's going to be an issue. I thought he missed some throws. I thought he made some really curious decisions. The interception over the middle, that guy was DeAndre Carter was never open on that play. He had a pass tipped at the line of scrimmage on a 2nd and 6 in the fourth quarter, and he caught it in the backfield instead of just knocking it down. He's been really good at avoiding sacks, protecting the football, and I feel like everything just kind of caught up to them today. And he didn't do a good job of protecting it, even on that sack fumble. He had the ball ripped right out of his hands. Not saying that's necessarily his fault, but sort of paints the picture of how he was just kind of off all game. And that's what it's going to look like offensively when you can't run it. And Justin Herbert isn't playing at a super high level. And he's obviously still dealing with this rib injury. If he's not Superman, you have no running game. It's going to look like that offensively. Defensively, it's the same story. It's the same story. That's what this defense's identity is at this point. They're going to come up with splash plays. They did it again today. They have the interception on the first drive of the game. Asante Samuel Jr. makes a great play on the ball there on first down, I should say, from the 50. Kenneth Murray picks it off. I mean, they have 2 sacks on third down in the red zone. Khalil Mack makes an very opportunistic play on the fumble, the drop pitch. He recovers that. You have the Sebastian Joseph Day safety, hell of a play by him. So it's all these splash plays, but they're just giving up too many explosives. Another long run today. That's 5 runs of 40 or more yards this year. The third rushing touchdown, more than 50 yards they've allowed this year. They gave up the 2 20-yard touchdowns to Marquise Goodwin. Obviously, the second one, J.C. Jackson suffers a severe knee injury. He was in position on that play, probably makes a play on the ball if he doesn't get injured. But the first one, it's 3rd and 15, and Asante Samuel Jr. gets beat on the fade corner. Just way too many explosive plays. They've given up 55 explosive plays this year. They're giving up too many points. They've given up 182 points on the year. Only the Browns have allowed more. The defense is just a boom or bust. And we could talk about the injuries, obviously, but they're really missing Bosa. And then J.C. Jackson's been in and out. He wasn't playing well when he was in there anyway. I thought he was a little bit better today. He had a PI. And they had he had a PI early. But a lot of these pieces are playing together here. Bryce Callahan hasn't missed any time. Drew Tranquil and Kenneth Murray haven't missed any time. The defensive line has been healthy. Khalil Mack's been out there. Derwin James and Nas Adderley have been healthy. And it's just not coalescing. It's not materializing. And at some point, you have to look at it and say, okay, what isn't translating here? Because obviously Brandon Staley's scheme is a good scheme because it worked. He proved it with the Rams. But let's say you have the best scheme in the world on the whiteboard. Let's just say that it is. On the whiteboard, it is an ideal scheme. If you can't translate that scheme to your players and allow them to play fast and play efficiently and play productively, then it's a worthless scheme. So something isn't translating right now because they're giving up too many explosive plays and it's not consistent enough. And Brandon Staley took all the ownership today. He said the responsibility is on me, but the inconsistency is the problem defensively. They can make splash plays, but if those splash plays are being counteracted, negated by all of these explosive plays, you're going to end up giving up the second most points in the league. And that's where it's at. So those are my takes. I sort of wrote, click the link below if you haven't subscribed to The Athletic. It's my column off the game. I just don't know what to make of this team. That's sort of where I'm at. Is this a good football team? I have no idea. They've had moments where they've looked really good. They've had moments where they've looked really bad. They're super injured, which makes it really hard to get a fair read on what this team is. I wrote through all the injuries. Bosa, Keenan Allen, Rashawn Slater, J.C. Jackson, Corey Linsley, Justin Herbert, Mike Williams, Donald Parham, Jalen Guyton, Joshua Kelly, Trey Pipkins, Joshua Palmer, all missing time because of injury. I guess in Herbert's case, not necessarily, but it's obviously impacted his play to a degree. We're talking about elite talent here. And so that has to be factored into it. I'm not making excuses here. It was not good enough today in any way, shape, or form. But when you ask the question, are the Chargers a good football team? What is this football team? It's really hard to make a determination when they've been missing so many guys. And I tweeted it before the game. Keenan last year had 30 conversions on 3rd and 4th down, tied for the second most in the league behind Justin Jefferson. Like, you lose that kind of production, it's going to matter. You lose your starting left tackle. As much as Jamari Salyer has exceeded expectations, you lose that guy. It changes everything about what you're trying to do offensively. So I don't know. I honestly don't know what to make of this team. I think the bye week is coming at a really good time because they got to sit down offensively, defensively, special teams. They got to sit down and figure out what they do well and how they can maximize those strengths. And they got to get healthy, right? But I think it's on both sides of the ball. Running game wise, I talked to Austin Eckler after the game. I'm gonna have more of my final thoughts, but he said he went over to the offensive line after the game. He's like, we got to figure out what we do well. Like, what do we want to do? What do we like to do as a running back group and as an offensive line? What are the runs that we do well that we feel comfortable doing? Is it inside zone? Is it outside zone? Is it duo? Is it more gap scheme? Is it pulling? All this different stuff. Is it counter? Let's find out what we do well and figure out a way to do it because they have way too much talent on this offensive line, even with Rashawn Slater out, to be running the ball like this. And so offensively, I think that's where it starts. Get some of these guys healthy, get Keenan Allen back, right? But offensively, you got to be able to run the ball better than this. You can't be a one-dimensional team with the way they're protecting right now, and with Justin Herbert's injury, you cannot be one-dimensional. And then defensively, they got to figure out how to be more consistent. Is it simplifying things on the back end? Whatever it is, whatever changes you have to make to the playbook, whatever decisions you have to make to personnel, to rotations, whatever changes you have to make to this scheme, it has to translate better to the players. It has to, because it's not there right now. And I think anyone involved with this team would say the same thing about the defense currently. All right. Let's get to questions. Do I see them trading for a wide receiver like Cooks? I think it's possible, especially if Mike is going to be out. Like if it's a high ankle sprain, he's going to miss 4 to 6 weeks. I feel like they got to look into adding some talent at wide receiver. So listen. I know you guys are going to ask a lot of questions about, are they making moves here? Are they making moves there? I think everything is on the table. I would not be surprised if they make a move for any player at this point, because it's all in right now. Like they have to get it done this year, considering the amount of money that ownership spent, the amount of cash that ownership spent this offseason. Like it has to come together. Even with these injuries, they have to find a way to make the playoffs. And so I think you're going to see that sense of urgency. And so nothing would surprise me. Literally nothing. You guys can throw as many names at me as you want. Nothing would surprise me, because the stakes are very, very high. Like they have to get it done this year. They got to get into the playoffs. And so if you have injuries at receiver, go find a receiver. If you have injuries at edge rusher, go find an edge rusher. Like you got to make moves, because it's all on the table right now. Should Brandon Staley let Ronaldo Hill call plays? I can't imagine that happens, but you have to consider everything. Like considering the issues on defense, like everything has to be on the table right now. You head into this bye week, you have to enter with an open mind and be willing to make whatever changes are necessary to get this group playing more consistently, because it's not happening right now. Address your comments from last stream. We want an apology, brother. You're not going to get an apology. I said what I said, and I meant it. At that point in time, the Chargers were 4-2 and on a 3-game winning streak, and I felt that way. The reality is this team has always had issues, and I've written it. If anyone reads me, if anyone follows me on Twitter, if anyone has watched 1 minute of one of these streams this year, I have talked about every issue ad nauseum. So this whole idea that I refuse to talk about the issues and want everyone to be positive all the time is ridiculous. That's not what I said. And that's all I'm saying about that. All right, let's talk about football. Football questions, please. Damn, my guy Malik Allen, you are just gonna tweet through it. You're gonna post chat posts. You're just gonna keep grinding here, man. I have a lot of respect for your commitment to the bit. Herbert regression. He's playing with fractured rib cartilage. He's playing with fractured rib cartilage. And if you want more information on fractured rib cartilage, go read my stuff on The Athletic, because I wrote at length about what the pain is going to be from this injury and how hard it is to mitigate it. I mean, he's still playing with it. I know he's off the injury report, but that doesn't magically heal. His left tackle is out for the season, arguably one of the best left tackles in football. Like, that stuff matters. Isn't it fair to have concern that the scheme only works exceptionally well when you have the best DT in NFL history? And I will add to that, one of the best corners. Absolutely. Fair to have concern. The defense isn't performing the way it was supposed to. And I know, and this is with the caveat that Joey Bosa is hurt, and that was a big part of what they were going to do. And JC Jackson has not lived up to what they expected. And now he's obviously got a severe injury in his knee. But it hasn't been good enough. Something isn't translating. And I'll say it again, because I said at the beginning of the stream, I don't know if you guys were the people that are asking were not in here. It has not translated. They are making too many mistakes. They are not executing well enough. And it might be a great scheme on the whiteboard, but it's not translating. And I imagine Brandon Staley would tell you the same thing. It's not translating right now. And so he said, we're going to take a long look at it during the bye week and figure out how we do it better. I think, God forbid I say something positive and encouraging, but let me say this. Last year, the run defense was a massive issue going into the bye week. Ronaldo Hill said they started from scratch, basically retaught all of the run defense rules to them, and it improved from there. The special teams were a huge issue through the first 5 weeks. During the bye week, they go sign Dustin Hopkins, they sign Andre Roberts, they made adjustments, and that improved over the remainder of the season. So this coaching staff has proven that they can make adjustments, and I have faith that they will make adjustments, whether that's personnel or whether that's schematically. But they've proven that they can do it. So we'll see if that happens. But it is what it is at this point. Last year, it was easy to write it off as, hey, Brandon Staley didn't have his pieces. This year, they spent a lot of money on the defense, and it hasn't translated. So something has to change. I think that's where it's at. I think everyone would agree with that. Damn, this is moving fast. Trying to find a good question in here. So that's a good question. Is Herbert throwing more sidearm because of the ribs? Lots of block passes. I think defenses have a lot of film now of this offense, and they know that in certain situations the Chargers are going to go to quick game. And Nate Tice actually talked about this on the Athletic Football Show last week, but it's so true. And we saw it in the Broncos game. We saw it again today. Like, they're prepared for the quick game stuff, sticks, slant flats, all that kind of stuff when Herbert's getting the ball out quickly, and they're starting to time it up. Now I gotta go back and watch the film just to make sure that's exactly what happened here. But it feels like defensive linemen know the situations where the Chargers are going to go to quick game, and they're just timing it up. And I think that's why you're seeing so many bad passes. That was definitely the case in the Broncos game. They were all over it. They knew on 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3 they were going to go to stick and run these quick game concepts, and they were all over it. And so I got to rewatch the game and watch the tape to see if that actually happened. But that's definitely part of it. Like, it feels like defenses know when these quick game concepts are coming, and they're prepared for it. Do I think Herbert resigns with the Chargers? Yes, I think Herbert resigns with the Chargers. God, some of you just write a question out and just keep spamming it, like asking it 700 times is going to make me want to answer your question more. Like, who are you people? It's unbelievable. Okay, we're banning Chuck. Everyone chant with me. Ban, 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 ban. Adios, pelota. I think I screwed it up. There you go. All right, what else we got? My fiance is watching TV in the next room, and she just texted me, "What's going on in there?" We're banning. We're banning. That's what we're doing. Any thoughts from Staley about the offense and why Eckler is getting 15 plus targets a game? When your running back is getting that many targets, it means that either A, no one's getting open downfield, or B, the protection is breaking down, or C, both. So it means that you're going to your check down. It means that Justin Herbert is not seeing anyone open downfield and is feeling pressure and is checking it down. And so you can blame it. Every play is different. Um, so you can blame it on the route concepts. You can blame it on the receivers not getting open. You can blame it on the pass protection. It depends play to play. But Eckler is a real weapon as a check down option. I don't think it's necessarily a bad way of producing offense, and they did it last year. But he had 12 targets today, and he had 16 targets last week. It's 28 targets over 2 games. I'm all for getting Austin Eckler the football. I think it's a good idea, but that just tells me that they're checking the ball down a ton, and I don't think that protection is holding up. It didn't against the Broncos, and I got to watch the tape back, but it didn't feel like the protection held up in this game either. Yeah, and that's a good point. Jack Shiesty says, "Does Herbert go through progressions too fast, causing him to resort to checkdowns?" That happens as well. I mean, he's a super fast processor, which is good, but sometimes it leads him to get off of reads very quickly and check it down before giving those guys time to get open. But it's all connected, and that's the really hard part about analyzing this stuff is that you can't just sit here and blame one thing in any facet of football. You can't be like, this is the problem. Everything is connected, and so when you talk about an issue, it's oftentimes multiple things. And as I've said on here before, that's part of the issue with the air yards. But it's not the entire issue with the air yards, right? Some of it is the play calling and route concepts. Some of it's the protection, all that stuff. So Allen said he didn't play in the second half due to pitch count. Was that real or BS? I imagine we'll get more information tomorrow. Staley said he didn't want to push it. I was bouncing around, and I wasn't at Keenan's little press gaggle. But I mean, just watching him operate in practice and even before the game, he didn't look 100% to me. I think he was healthy enough to give it a go and see how it felt. But obviously, if he didn't play in the second half, there was something that happened there that led the coaching staff to sit him. I don't think the plan going in was play him in the first half and then, in a 10-point game, sit him for the entire second half. So obviously he felt something there. But get more information on that tomorrow when we talk to Brandon Staley. Tease Bolt says, a large portion of this fan base has no understanding of complexity and nuance. It's always fire everyone when the team goes through ups and downs, like all NFL teams. They said it, not me. I'm just quoting the chat. All right. Okay is spamming questions. He says, he or she or they says, why did we hire a defensive coach just for him to give up 30 plus points per game? The Chargers obviously hired a defensive coach to give up 30 plus points a game. That's the whole idea behind hiring a defensive coach. You want to give up as many points as possible. I don't know, man. Obviously, that wasn't the plan. But as we've said 100 times, it's not translating and something has to change. Someone's banging on the wall. I don't know if that's the apartment next to me. How do you feel about Kenneth Murray's growth? I think he's played really well this season. He had a play. Let me see. When was that? Yeah, fourth quarter. Seahawks second possession of the fourth quarter after the safety, and then the Chargers went 3 and out and punted. Shane Waldron, the Seahawks offensive coordinator, actually schemed up this beautiful play where Lockett kind of leaked out to the left. They got the offensive lineman in front. They kind of faked it like a decoy and then threw it back across the formation. And they were on the Chargers 31-yard line, and that would have been a touchdown. But Kenneth Murray read it, fought through multiple blocks, and was able to slow Lockett down enough for Drew Tranquil to come in and make a tackle for loss there. Like, that was such an exceptional play. I think he's been great in coverage. I think he's been a good run defender, and he's really taken that next step. I think a big part of it is that he's just healthy. Like, I think this is who he would have been if he didn't have the shoulder injury, didn't have the ankle injuries last year. I think you're seeing a healthy player, a guy that's more comfortable in the scheme, and he's really taken a big step this year. Brandon Sweeney says Pipkins' knee injury has really changed his play. I couldn't agree more. I mean, he was really playing at a high level before he hurt his knee and just hasn't been the same player since, which is understandable. But credit to him for fighting through it because the alternative is Storm Norton. I think we all know what that is. We just banned okay, but I can't do the ban chant anymore because the people living next door are banging on the wall because I'm making too much noise, apparently. Okay, I put Chuck in timeout, but now we're banning him. Ban the neighbors. I wish I could ban people in real life. Can you imagine that if you just block people in real life? Just never have to hear from them ever again. Richie asks the extent of Drew's injury. Drew told me after the game that he's fine. He got rolled up on his knee got rolled up on a punt, but he came back in and played the rest of the game. So he said he's fine. Rump's injury, it was like a hip slash knee, and Staley said it's not severe in nature. So we got a further update tomorrow. Lombardi's job security. I'm seeing a lot of questions about that. I don't think it's in danger at this point. Um, I think he and Staley obviously go way back. If you don't know about that, go read the feature I wrote about Brandon Staley playing for Joe Lombardi at Mercyhurst College back in 2004, um, when Lombardi was the OC there. But I think he's got a decent leash here. I mean, he led a top 5 offense last year. I think Justin Herbert really developed well last year, so I think he's bought himself time here. Um, It hasn't been good enough this year, but they've really fought through a ton of injuries. We talked about it earlier, but it's hard to put it all on him. You can feel how you feel about Joe Lombardi. You can feel how you feel about the offense, but how many offensive coordinators out there go through their stud quarterback fracturing his rib cartilage? They lose their left tackle, their center, who is the brains behind all of their pre-snap protection stuff. He's in and out of the lineup. Your right tackle has a sprained MCL. Your most important receiver, who is everything to your offense on third and fourth downs, on money downs, misses 5 games, now 5.5 games after today. I don't know how many offensive coordinators are still leading a top 5 offense with all those injuries. You lose your deep threat to an ACL injury in Jalen Guyton. Your number 3 receiver is banged up with an ankle and knee injury. I'm not making excuses here, but I think between what happened last year, the offense that they were able to build, and then um, just the injuries that they've had on offense this year. I really don't think his job is in danger. That's my read on it. All right, friends, and my haters, what's up? The beer is done. When the hops are done, pop is done, as we know. So I will do one more question. Can you give us an example where Staley has learned from a past mistake and made a change because of it? Not personal, game management, or scheme. I mean, he's already done it multiple times this year. Rashawn Slater goes down. Storm Norton comes in against the Jaguars. Is a complete disaster. The next week, he starts Jamari Salyer, 6th-round rookie. That's an obvious adjustment based on a past mistake, which was having Storm Norton as your swing tackle. Another one, benches J.C. Jackson for the second half of that Monday night game when he wasn't playing well. Realized that JC wasn't playing well enough and made a change because of it. That's a past mistake and made a change because of it. So I think, you know, kicker last year, they felt like Tristan Vizcaino had a good leg and that they could coach him up. He was struggling. They realized that was a mistake, made a change and signed Dustin Hopkins. So I think it's happened time and time again. It's not hard to find examples. So I think that's a good place to end it off, right? Is it good enough right now? No. But has the coaching staff proven that they're willing to make adjustments and make changes to improve the team, to improve the roster, to improve the scheme, all of these things? Yes, they have. And I do ultimately have faith that they will make the necessary adjustments and changes over this bye week to have this team playing better in Atlanta in week 9. And with that, I bid everyone a good night, especially my haters. What's up?